Hiya there, Sim Life Mechanics, how you doing? Thank you for clicking. Appreciate the time to chat about a little game called Scrap Mechanic, and its prospects for playability in 2021. If you're a car hobbyist, you may very well enjoy this too. It's basically like playing with model cars in a video game, but you can drive them as well. Some modders have gone to the trouble of adding actual production models to the game. It's a build from the chassis up sort of thing. Like real adult life. Build cars while trying to survive in an unfair world. Still utterly confused about some aspects of this game, but that's totally fine, and it's not due to being a bad game. Actually, quite to the contrary, this is fantastically good. There's just a ton for me to learn since I've spent so much time enjoying just the building, crafting, and modification that's possible in it so far. Released in early 2016, this title still looks to have potential left in it. Listed as early access, there are sporadic updates, but when those updates arrive, often means significant enough additions to revisit your worlds to check those out. The most recent update seems small, but it actually expanded on one of the modes in a massive way. I'll explain that in a moment, but let's rewind to introduce more of the game for those who might be considering but haven't yet hit the buy button just yet. First off, when opening the game, you can customize your menu screen. It's a kinda clever addition here to show off a build. I just grabbed a Pikachu from the Steam Workshop for a demonstration of how that works. The character creation of the game is fairly slim. All of the options pretty much interchange, but it indicates that there can be some better clothing options where hopefully we get to acquire more than one shoe. Once past this first menu screen, there's another menu screen. This one will be for selecting the 3 different game modes. The first is a challenge mode, a series of build puzzles for players to figure out in an order to get from the starting point to the finished location. This mode does offer a challenge while also introducing many concepts the game offers for building to utilize the physics of driving around on the ground or in the air. The mode in multiplayer can be quite entertaining trying to get all the party into the finish zone. It's one way to learn the basics of putting together vehicles and connecting the necessary functions to make them not only run, but drive in whatever direction you're intending to with the controls. But if one prefers not to do this under a timer, there are 2 other modes. Should you choose survival, there's different situations like starving to death, thirst, fires, and robots while having to scavenge for the materials. This may be for those who like to work under pressure. Having just apparently been hurled from the atmosphere, players are immediately confronted by fire and must hobble along to collect any scattered debris worth saving, while also finding a source of water to douse those fires. There will be a source just down an incline nearly directly straight out of the exit of the burning ship. A pond with a tiny farm plot has blue buckets scattered all around. Equipping one of them allows the player to collect water for different purposes. First putting out these fires, then watering some plants. Crates contain food you'll need to get by on your hunger bar that drains faster than a tank on a race car. It may also have seeds, soil, gasoline, or other consumables and component building parts. One more thing to keep an eye out for is the battery which powers the ship back up. Crafting requires the craft bot installed into the wall of your starter ship, and that requires the battery first. Once powered up, the craft bot contains the recipes for making your first vehicle. Placing down a lift allows one to start putting assorted items together in order to construct something that moves using the connecting tool and whatever they can scavenge. The vehicle can help traversing a sizable land to explore, but it's still pretty pokey. This power-up also gives you the logbook with an ability to mark for navigation for the crash site or mechanic shop. Beacons can be crafted to mark other points of interest you wish to be able to find again. There isn't a ton of storage in the starter area, only a couple spots inside the sleeper cabin, and it's easy to run out of bag space shortly after starting a collecting spree. Some items are placeable as decoration in addition to being used in farming or crafting. Seeds and bags of soil can be moved out of the inventory and left at your base, or placed around the existing inventory left over at the small garden by the crashed ship to lighten your bag load. It's ideal to keep the inventory light in case you die. It would be more ideal to just not die, but if you're being adventurous, that can be a challenge. Robots will sneak up on you while you're just minding your own business nearer at your base, and they're also scattered about the landscape with far more concentrations being found around abandoned structures so far. This is probably far less of a challenge once players acquire a spud gun, but I haven't gotten that far into it yet. I'm starting out with a basic sledgehammer for combat and gathering. For a typical survival or life simulation game, find something and smash it. In this case, you can start with trees, which will then further require refining. Bots drop parts which can also be refined, and there's oodles of different loot that they spout while violently disassembling. There is beeswax out there, and flowers that require a delicate approach of picking as opposed to smashing, but the corn, just hammer it. These cobs aren't edible for you, but if you can find some of the friendly walk, they'll be glad to take the corn in exchange for milk. This is a great starter source for curing thirst and a bit of hunger. Walks serve as more than one resource. If you have a hammer, you can hit them with it for steak, which will be used later on in a cookbot. Resources including walks seem to respawn after a few days aside from the crates that are immediately around the crash site. It would be unlikely to run out of things to gather, especially if you're playing on solo. Other random collectibles are gasoline used in the crafting of explosives, as well as chemicals used for glow sticks and batteries. The pigment flowers can be made to paint for some customization on your creations. Circuit boards are used in just about every big crafting project, which can be found in the Big Craft Bot station at the mechanic shop. Not all bots in the game are baddies. Some are helpful bots players use to craft items. The first is the craft bot that holds bulk recipes for making useful items. The cook bot, at its current state, only contains 3 recipes, but a couple which utilize wok steaks as a more regular food source. Hoping that we see more in the game's future for variety and to use up excess crops. The refine bot automates the refining process, and if a storage container is connected, will automatically deposit the finished product. The last is a dress bot that consumes cotton and garment boxes to unlock clothes. When you reach the mechanic station, these helpful bot versions will be craftable from the dispenser bot located there. Farming is included in this survival mode for assistance with making food acquisition steady. It's as self-explanatory as the billboard in the small garden plot. Find some dirt, throw down a bag of soil from your inventory, plant, water, fertilize, and wait. What's slightly different here that I hadn't seen in the game yet was picking the soil back up. It turns back into a bag in your inventory for convenient relocation. Fertilizer is also optional. It only will speed up growth. Carrots, tomatoes, and beets you can eat, but not the potatoes. Those are used for ammunition once you've got your hands on a spud gun, or by the cookbot in recipes. The fruits can only be found in crates or by growing them from seeds, but restore more hunger to your bar. Planting more than 10 or 12 crops attracts the attention from enemy bots, so be prepared to defend the farm. Though I haven't gotten far into survival mode just yet, I have read a little about the expansive zone, which will eventually lead you to packing stations and the ability to do deals with the trader. Fruit and vegetable crates assembled at the packing station can be traded for seeds, soil, and fertilizer for your farm. Also in their selection, I saw a saw and a drill, combined with other parts, can be turned into efficient farming equipment that can mow down trees or get scrap from rocks. You can also obtain a spud gun and garment boxes from here. Looking forward to better getting down survival mode. The first experimental tryouts were stumbling around without looking for any tips, and I found myself struggling to stay out of the hungry zone. I'm not doing too well against some of the bots. Upon death, players will have to run back to their bodies to retrieve whatever belongings were in their inventory at the time of death. I haven't tried this yet, but threads on Reddit responders say they have multiple bags with items still littered across the land. The items don't despawn. You could even use these as markers, at least with one item left behind. This could be a strategic way to hold on to some items that aren't regularly needed, so long as one is good at remembering where they left things. That's one reason why this game is delighting. The exploration aspect and navigation it requires in order to quickly find one's way around in such a vast area, it's particularly huge when you're still on foot. While sometimes daunting, it builds skill and spatial memory and awareness that might get applied to things people do in daily life, including how well do they navigate themselves around the real world. Different kinds of games can grow or shrink this ability along with a region of the brain called the hippocampus. Depending on how games are utilized may be affecting people more than they realize. I reference that part of the brain often in videos, but it's because it's a very key part of the brain. The hippocampus helps humans process and retrieve two different kinds of memory: declarative memories and spatial relationships. Declarative memories are those related to facts and events. Spatial relationship memories involve pathways or routes, like learning how to get somewhere without using GPS. It's where short-term memories get transferred into long-term ones. Despite what we hear about losing brain cells, this is one of the few parts of the brain that continues generating them all throughout adult life. Since learning has much to do with memory and how flexible memory is, this part of the brain has significance in how fast we pick up new skills or change our minds when we've been wrong about our assumptions. In situations such as amnesia or Alzheimer's, this part of the brain has seen a reduction in matter or damage, showing through difficulties with use of memory. While some action games, such as first-person shooters, showed a reduced gray matter in this area of the brain when viewed on MRI, other games have been shown to do the reverse. It's difficult to lump all video games together when talking about their effects. Whether or not this long-term is yet to be known. It can't be exactly said that playing first-person shooters results in Alzheimer's. Sometimes it takes many links to a correlation to determine a causation. But even for now, a shrunken brain isn't on my best interest after already dealing with years of MRIs for a brain lesion in a region of the brain close to the limbic system where the hippocampus resides. Can't sustain more brain damage than I already have, so it's not the bulk of the gaming that I personally do. But Scrap Mechanic offers an occasional opportunity to enjoy replication of that gameplay through the use of spud guns. Undeniably, it's fun shooting down the robots from time to time in this first-person perspective. Playing in a third person doesn't seem to cause quite the same effects as this first person does either, according to studies. Oddly, the orientation of the camera may have much to do with how games restructure our brains. Scrap Mechanic also allows players to back out by holding Alt along with the scroll wheel to get into the third-person mode. Both modes are helpful in the game at different times. Moving on to creative mode. Generally, already I spend tons of time in any game's creative mode just making random stuff, but Scrap Mechanic has some bonuses. I hadn't opened a game in a few months, but I was treated to capsules which release both violent and non-violent organic and non-organic beings into our creative mode. Having this option makes it possible to test defensive creations and fortresses to be used in survival. This latest update is among those referenced at the beginning that expand the game so immensely. Walks and globes can grace your worlds for cute decoration. Robot capsules can be placed and later broken open on command, virtually turning your creative mode into survival mode. Especially if you do the command to call them all to your location at once. Being a highly moddable game means scripts can be added to make one's creative into a more survival mode with a lot more going on. There's quite literally thousands of Steam Workshop mods and creations that one can download to add to their game. Mod kits contain additional pieces like cylinders, spheres, wedges, and curves that allow players to get much more elaborate of what can be built without everything ending up cube-shaped like Lego. Not that cubes are a bad thing, but trying to make even small furniture items and it gets pretty bulky. Building a sleek exotic car would be even more awkward, but with many mods out there, there's automotive aftermarket selection in this game is stellar. Almost more wheel choices that replicate real brands than some AAA racing releases. Springs, brakes, and rotors, even a turbo. Some have shaped fenders or hoods that really polish out a project car. Much of what you're seeing in this video is someone else's creation downloaded from the workshop. I left my messes on another server as they aren't as neat as these replications. Check out this Porsche RWB. How about a Nissan Titan or the new Ford Bronco? I've been using these as get-arounds, but other vehicle types would be required if you want to traverse water or get up into the air. There's mods for helium, so I'll just let you imagine what can be done with that. In your inventory within creative mode, there are tools here all ready to show. Your sledgehammer is considered a tool, but the lift is your first and quite most essential tool that you can even use as a personal elevator when building or trying to reach high up honeycombs in survival mode. The connecting tool is used to make things function by connecting together parts that can work together like engines and bearings to create moving wheels. When combined with the seat and controller, this is the recipe for a basic vehicle. There's a handbook with some tips. The welding tool fuses parts together with a few clicks. The paint tool gives players a panel of selectable colors to swap out on the gun tank, then spray individual blocks or splatter entire portions of walls all at once. Lots of items can be painted, even the bots. Spent way too many hours building a house. Construction in this game is brick by brick if you want it to be, or you use the Q key to adjust and make a drag range to build larger multi-block portions. Right-click and drag to remove sections or individual bricks. Blocks of different materials help create different textured looks. Many more can be added by mod, as well as doors and windows that look more fitted than using just solid glass, such as I did in this project. I haven't put them in just yet, but attaching a switch will give you working actuated doors. Given that, I'm not sure why I made stairs, aside from being a force of habit. I could have just made an elevator and saved myself the trouble. Oh well, next build. The furniture inside your home you can make by hand, in first-person mode no less, with the materials in the inventory menu from the base game. Multiply that inventory by adding mods kits from the Steam Workshop. These mods can be pre-made furniture assets that fit quite nicely into buildings scale appropriate to the character. Many have interactive abilities to turn on or off or change the lighting. Couches, chairs, and beds can be used for rest. Uploaders integrated plenty of interactive abilities into their creations, from things as simple as this light-up racing arcade game to a light-up teacup carnival ride. Oh yeah, totally, people have built it, and I couldn't resist downloading it. I'm going to admit that the creations lag my computer to nearly being unplayable, but it's still fun to goof around with and learn from others' creations of how the moving parts even go together. The bumper car was too much for the current creative world. I'm probably going to have to delete it and build one in hopes that one from scratch doesn't cause as much lag. I'm definitely not that knowledgeable on game optimization. But these do help illustrate the potential of what you can do with this game. Just gonna run through some different stuff I found to toy with. The game is available on Steam for PC only, but in a 2018 tweet, developer Axolot mentioned, "We will look into consoles after survival is in the game." And while survival mode was out some time ago, a recent Q&A says that it's expected to be on the console about the same time that the game leaves early access. So if you're hoping for lightning back-to-back updates, unfortunately that doesn't happen, but it's a long history of continued expansion, and it has a good track record that it's not entirely forgotten either. You can expect good things from it. Hints dropped in the Q&A include a focus on more aquatic and air adventuring aside from story development with questing. Boss sketches and screenshots from dungeon changes indicate in-game-like content coming too. In fairly recent development, players can make their own world tiles stitched together into bigger worlds. I can tell that this would help immensely when trying to put together racetracks in a hurry, and one quick browse through the workshop for examples proves that you can do some gravity-defying with Hot Wheels-like tracks. Good stuff! Track building is always a plus in every game where possible. Plus, the devs are intent on giving modders some love in the future by expanding on what can be added to the game. 5 years down the road, this game still has tons of life left in it. I love it. The sandbox is already entertaining at base, expandable with mods in ways that are fun and thoughtful. If the game wasn't what you wanted it to be, It's quite tunable through items that you find in the workshop. Car Enthusiast Virtual Builder Hangout. You can certainly build and decorate a very elaborate club garage, leave room for lots of vehicles, and if you have the patience and dedication, it could be done in survival mode if one really wants to feel a sense of accomplishment, or have a substantial base to protect their crops from invading robots. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a scrap mechanic playlist now, knowing that this game will get tons more gameplay with some assorted builds included. Perhaps we'll eventually have to hold a track build-off on Tread Life, race each other's servers. Always happy to check out people's builds, share screenshots through Discord. Thank y'all for watching, take care, bye-bye!